are strong and wise, Anakin, and I am very proud of you. I have trained you since you were a small boy, and you have become a far greater Jedi than I could ever hope to be.
I haven't seen her in 10 years, Master.
Annie?
You've made a commitment to the Jedi Order, a commitment not easily broken.
Must be difficult having sworn your love to the Jedi. Not being able to visit the places you like or do the things you like.
I'll be with the people that I love.
Are you allowed to love? I thought that was forbidden for a Jedi.
It wouldn't have to be that way. We could keep it a secret.
Ever since I've known you, you've been searching for a life greater than that of an ordinary Jedi. A life of significance, of conscience.
You're trembling. What's going on?
Something wonderful has happened. Annie, I'm pregnant. What are we gonna do?
It was a dream, like the ones I used to have about my mother, just before she died. And it was about you.
Tell me.
You die in childbirth.
The baby.
I don't know.
It was only a dream.
I won't let this one become real. Where are you going? To find my mother.
Your mother's dead, son. Accept.
Why couldn't I save her? I know I could have.
You're not all powerful.
Well, I should be. Someday I will be. I will even learn to stop people from dying.
Jet. I know I'm better than this.
Don't continue to be a pawn of the Jedi Council. Use my knowledge, I beg you.
Do you think Obi-Wan might be able to help us?
We don't need his help. He could actually save people from death. Is it possible to learn this power?
Not from a Jedi.
I found a way to save you. What must I do, Master?
Train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose.
I won't lose you, Padme.
I'm not gonna die in childbirth, then. I promise you.
No, I promise you.
I promise you.
Vader was seduced by the dark side of the Force.
Something's happening. I'm not the Jedi I should be.
Do what must be done. Vader, do not hesitate. Show no mercy.
I need your help. He's in grave danger.
From the sick?
From himself.
Have faith in my love.
I'm afraid.
Anakin has turned to the dark side.
You're wrong. How could you even say that? You're going to kill him, won't you? Obi-Wan said turn to the dark side. He cares about us. He knows. He wants to help you.
I won't lose you the way I lost my mother.
Stop! Stop now! Come back! I love you!
You turned her against me!
You have done that yourself.
Nothing but we reorganize into a first galactic empire!
You will not take it from me!
Destroy the Sith. We must.
You are the chosen one! You will bring balance to the Force! You will not leave it in darkness!
she all right?
Is Anakin alright?
It seems in your anger, you killed her.
I couldn't. She was alive. I felt it.
The son of Skywalker must not become a Jedi. He will join us or die.
You can end this destructive conflict and bring order to the galaxy.
Suit your feelings, Aldous. You can't do this. I feel the conflict within you. Let go of your hate.
He ceased to be Anakin Skywalker and became Darth Vader. When that happened, the good man that was your father was destroyed.
There is still good in him.
He's more machine now than man.
No. Go, my son. Leave me.
I'll not leave you here. I've got to save you.
You're ready. Look. You were right. You were right about me.
No words.
All right, chat. You guys crying? Team Money is. He's got the.
I'm covering it up.
He's got the helmet.
That's why you have the helmet on.
Oh,
I was doing
man.
pretty okay until right about the end there, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, looking down, trying to find something.
Oh, dude. So if you guys don't know, that is AD Edits. And yes, the award for the longest intro ever goes to. Oh man, we watched that and we had to hit ADF and be like, bro, can we use this? Because this is wild. So look up AD Edits, but man.
Yeah, if you're not subscribed, obviously go subscribe. That he's got.
You better be subscribed.
Yeah, they've got
I'm on his freaking live streams. If you don't do that, you're not really part of the X-Men community.
Oh, I know. But hey, so let's introduce ourselves and we'll say what's up to the chat. So obviously we are two Star Wars nerds, Chase and Keeley, the mustache and the girl. That's what's going on. So what's up, Vader? How's it going?
Yeah. Hi. Not crying, but
Oh, that
that thing is huge.
It is. There we go.
Oh, you look pretty okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of fixed myself up from all the fire. You know?
Good.
Nice.
Yeah. What's up? It's T Money, and glad you guys invited me on.
Oh yeah, man. So glad you're here. And Commander himself, what's up, man?
How's it going, guys? I'm really excited for the stream. I wasn't going to press you for an invite, but I was a little giddy when I got that text earlier today, and you're like, so what are you doing at 3 o'clock? Like, of course I'm watching the stream, dummy.
Yeah, you were like, yeah, I'm watching, you know. All right, so we'll say what's up to the chat, and we'll get into it. What's up, Blue? What's up, Shapeshifter? I don't know that we've actually ever met and talked, so what's up?
He's actually a good friend of mine.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
He does a lot of the voice work for Clone Troopers and cinematic captures, Lotra films, and a bunch of stuff. He does literally the perfect Tamara Morrison impression. So
that is a tall order to fill too.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I'll link his channel to you guys after stream.
Cool. Yeah, that would be awesome. We got Jedi Scum. We got Strike in here. We got, man, I know I'm missing some people. We got old Ben Kenobi. We got Average. We got Matt. We got all sorts of people in here. I am excited for this. So let's do this. Let's just start by jumping in to the life of Anakin. And so just for you guys in the chat too, this is interactive as well. So ask some question, make some points in there. We're going to be interacting with you guys. The goal of this is to go over Anakin Skywalker from the little slave boy on Tatooine to the redemption we see in Return of the Jedi. That is quite a task.
Yeah.
Quite a task for a stream, and this may become a part 2 at some point.
I think they made a couple movies about it, didn't they?
Yeah, a few.
Yeah.
You know,
Cool.
I think all in all, you know, it'll take like 8-9 hours to really
Let's
really
get those
explain
watch
this all.
hours. Just get them up there.
Heck yeah.
So really, this is just a watch party. We're just gonna put the movies on. No. Okay.
Yeah, we'll get cut real quick.
Yeah.
So even before we get going, I had to ask AD, and I'm like texting him and asking him like, "Hey, how do you have this on YouTube? Because I don't want to run into getting this pulled again somehow."
Yeah.
He did his magic. He did his magic. And
Alex
escaped
and
the mouse.
Zach are just, Alex and Zach, they're such amazing people. They do such good work, and they are such nice people, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about somebody who's humble and kind, you reach out to them and talk to them. They're just awesome people. So definitely get over there and go sub to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They even let me join for a watch party too, and it was for a
Nice.
great episode.
I remember. I was sitting in the background that whole
Yeah,
time. I
you were.
remember that.
I felt bad, but yeah, they're really good people. Subscribe to them if you haven't already.
Yes. I feel like we should just end this stream and then just call it like the AD edits.
Why we love AD edits.
Why we love AD edits.
Yeah, we'll just timestamp it. Oh, this for 13 minutes. This is just AD edits.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into it. And chat, I want to hear from you as well, but we'll start with X-Wing and we'll work our way around. Let's start with favorite moments in Anakin's life. We're going to start with a loaded question.
Yeah. You said we have 8 hours, 9 hours?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's tough. You know, a lot of people say that Star Wars is the story of Luke Skywalker, and he was really the chosen one. But to me, it makes no sense in my brain. I mean, the entirety of the 6 movies is really the arc of Anakin, all the way up until the end when he's redeemed, and that's where basically like Star Wars kind of ends. So it's tough for me to pick out moments. I mean, obviously, there's Phantom Menace is a little tough because everybody's like, oh, well, Jake Lloyd's just annoying or whatever. But I mean, that pod race was and still is one of my favorite Star Wars moments ever. It was cool. The sound design, I mean, you guys made a video on it. The sound design was absolutely amazing. The action was awesome. Who doesn't love the chug, chug, chug of Sebulba's pod racer? You know what I mean? Right? But so that was huge. Moving into the second one, I mean, you start to see Anakin start to change. The Clone Wars, I think probably the Dooku fight is probably another favorite of mine because we really see him humbled, right? He's like, nah, I got this. And whack! Like, say goodbye to your arm, And he's laying there and you're like, damn, like our hero got wrecked. This is going to be a learning moment for him, And then moving into Revenge, obviously I love the lightsaber duel between he and Obi. But there's a really cool moment in Revenge of the Sith that I absolutely adore. When Palpatine's like, come on, we got to leave. And he looks up and he says, his fate will be the same as ours. And that was a really cool moment for me because, I think a lot of people, when they talk about Anakin, they're like, he's just selfish. He's so selfish. And, at face value, it seems like, yeah, he's selfish. He's just doing this stuff for him. But everything that he does that seems selfish is actually an outward act. He's doing it for love. He's doing it for someone else because he loves. So, yeah.
That's good, man.
100%
That's good.
agree.
I'm gonna hit some of this chat here. Yeah, Palpatine equals Anakin's father. That is a good talking point. I also saw Shapeshifter. He said this favorite moment was his defeat on Mustafar. I mean, he was really on fire.
He was on fire.
Wow,
so hot right now.
Matt Wilkins, what is up? I actually know that, and you could correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. You are not the biggest fan of the prequels or the Clone Wars, but I loved being on your stream and even talking with you, and you love Star Wars, that's for sure. And so we will get back to this question later because we won't make this a prequel stream, but specifically Jake Lloyd and Hayden Christensen do get criticized quite a bit for their portrayal of Anakin. And so we will circle back to this.
Definitely ready to talk about that.
Yes. Yeah. And yes,
hey.
Mr. Jedi Scum, how's it going, man?
Pretty good. I think I'm here.
Yes,
you're here.
Yep. Awesome. I'm so glad you can be here, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know you were fighting to get past those technical difficulties. So yes. I'm glad it all worked out.
You persevered.
Yeah, exactly.
Communications.
Yes. So T-Money, some of your favorite moments in Anakin's life.
Oh man, that's a really difficult question. I have to say Anakin has so much tragedy in his life that it's sometimes nice to see when he's happy and he gets a break and stuff. And like X-Men was talking about the pod racing scene in Phantom Menace, that's really good. Mm-hmm. I also just really liked a lot of the conversations he had with his mother, like when they were on the dinner table, and he says like why aren't there more people who want to help each other in the galaxy? I thought that's a really nice scene. Yeah. Attack of the Clones, really underrated in my opinion, and I like a lot of moments in that movie.
Me too.
Yeah, especially like just the when the Jedi are fighting all the droids in the arena. I just love how like Anakin's just like having to fight kind of sort of thing. He's like
having a blast, man.
So that's a highlight. And a lot of the Clone Wars, growing up with the Clone Wars, like just seeing Anakin like lead the 501st and stuff, being on battle, being a great leader, really showing why he was regarded as such a cunning warrior, and it was just awesome to see that. And even though I know some scenes people kind of cringe at, I really do enjoy a lot of the moments Anakin has with Padme, because that is who he cares for, that's who he loves. And I have a lot more for the later questions to dive into kind of their relationship, but I just do really like seeing their dynamic. So whenever Anakin's happy, those are probably some of my favorite moments. So
yeah,
but
for
of
sure.
course seeing him seeing the final battle between him and Obi-Wan, as tragic as it is, and as always I'm like, will the fight outcome be different? I still do enjoy watching those moments. So yeah.
Nice. That's awesome, man. And I will say this for the chat and everybody watching, and even for the people here that we're talking, there's so much we're already resisting diving into, because like once we get past favorite moments, it is like full on deep dive. Hopefully you guys feel the stirring already.
You asked one question and I'm like
oh, it's gonna be good. We have Lord Crit. What's up, man? I think Hayden Christensen is underrated, and I'm glad that the hate he got is long gone, as he has become one of the most popular Star Wars actors in recent years.
100%.
Matt Cave, what's up?
What's up, Matt Cave?
Blue says my favorite moments. First is Child Annie. The biggest problem with the universe is nobody helps each other. Other one is in Clone Wars cartoon film when he quotes Qui-Gon to Ahsoka. Ooh, that is a unique one. You don't really hear that one.
That is a really good moment.
Yeah, that's really cool. Awesome. Okay, we'll do this. We'll do Jedi Scum, your favorite moments in Anakin's life, and then we'll hit us up, and we're just gonna hit the ground running, even more so than we already are. So, Jedi Scum, the floor is yours, my man.
Well, I think some of my favorite moments in Anakin's life are between him and Obi-Wan, because it's a kind of interesting relationship. They're brothers, but there's that father-son dynamic, but they're kind of more like squabbling brothers. So, off the top of my head, I was thinking like at the beginning of episode 2, when they chase the droid and then the bounty hunter after they try to assassinate Padme. I think that's pretty cool. See Anakin kind of that swashbuckling Jedi, just jumping from pod to pod and not worrying about his own life because that's just what a Jedi does. And
yeah,
I thought that was pretty cool. And then running into the club and he's all paranoid. And Obi-Wan goes and just gets a drink. I thought that was that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's such. I think that's such an underrated scene because like when you watch that, it's so crazy. I mean, if we're focusing on Anakin too, it's so crazy the way Anakin, like you said, literally just keeps throwing himself and throwing his body, and there's like a cocky arrogance he has in the moment, but then he's also like unafraid to fail. He's just he's just going for it. That's cool, man. All right, so Mrs. Two Star Wars Nerds, Keely, what are some of your favorite moments in Anakin's life?
Well, I really like Anakin, but I've narrowed it down to 3, and I'm honestly surprised no one said my first one. So I'm happy that I'm the only one, I guess, unless you have it too. But his redemption at the end of Return of the Jedi, when he becomes Anakin again, that's my number 1. My number 2 is, I think Team Money said it, but in Attack of the Clones, when him and Padme finally say they love each other and they're going out, and then just the battle. That's awesome. And then I think my last one is just his innocence as a little boy when he said, when he's talking to Padme, he's like, "Are you an angel?" And just like how innocent he is, because it just reminds me of where he goes. But then obviously, I also know the end of the story, and he is the chosen one. I don't care what anyone says. He's the chosen one, and he is redeemed. So I think those are my 3 favorite, and they go really well together, and they're important to his arc.
Well, that's an amazing thing about the character. I guess we'll get more into that later, but how he just starts out so fundamentally good. He's not like the bad seed or the Damien child, or there's no hint of that in episode 1. He's just a sweet, good little boy that wants to help.
Yeah, and even though we wrote these questions, I'm like, these are hard questions. If I'm thinking about moments that haven't been said in context of all of Anakin's life, I particularly like when he's talking about, what does he say? I've had dreams of being a Jedi, or I've had dreams of the Jedi and of freeing slaves. And that in Phantom Menace holds so much weight because it is him as a pure young kid. I mean, it's amazing the joy he had as a slave.
Yeah.
Right.
And like all the stuff they were going through, and he was finding a way to persevere. He was completely hopeless. And he had these dreams of doing something great, and then ironically he becomes an oppressor, and he becomes even more of a slave than he was before. And he became the Jedi and failed and all of this. And there's so much like, and I know maybe that's like an obscure one, but thinking of what hasn't been said, that for me is like, it's almost heartbreaking seeing that. Yeah. Because like where he's gonna go. But I'm so glad that like we highlighted this before, but like what Blue said, and Keely, the redemption, tell your sister you were right. Oh, when that
Padme
comes,
knew it, and then I think Padme said the same thing Luke does. There's still good in him, and they were right.
Yeah.
Tell your sister you were right.
It was
that
interesting.
That actually just reminds me real quick of another moment that's a favorite of mine from episode 1, when him and Qui-Gon are sitting out there on the balcony the night before the pod race, and Qui-Gon's actually getting the blood sample. But when Anakin's asking about, has anybody been to all the stars up there, and it's such a great moment.
I'm gonna be the first one to see them all.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's such a pure moment. The music and just the way it's shot and everything, and it makes you sad when you think where he's going ultimately.
Yeah, and also too, I mean, I think coming into this, I was thinking the 6 movies, but there is so much that happens in the Clone Wars with Anakin, and I think another one of my really big, awesome, like this is so much good character development for Anakin arcs is Ahsoka leaving the Order.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge because you really see him like he drops the facade and he's really weak for once. He's really weak, and then the pure joy when she comes back.
Yeah.
And the battalion's painted up, and he gives her a gift. The sabers. It's like.
So sweet.
Oh no.
It's just so amazing. He disappears.
So I'll say this for the chat for watching. He was saying his StreamYard account keeps kicking him off like every 10 minutes or so. So what the heck? We got 2 of you.
We got 2 X-Wings.
What the?
No, there are 2 of you.
Yeah.
This is getting out of hand. Shoot him or something.
Remove the imposter.
Oh,
maybe I'll be back in a second. Let me do something and I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good, man.
I was gonna quickly add to your comment about we're talking about Anakin like wanting to go visit all the planets and stuff. We see his innocence of him wanting to become a Jedi and stuff. And it's kind of the idea of like a child wanting to grow up to become an adult or to go to a certain job and stuff. And their pure innocence of like not knowing like the cons of life and stuff. And it is just so tragic because while he thinks being a Jedi is like literally the best thing you could ever be, we find out through the Clone Wars and through the prequels that they're not all what they're talked up to be.
Right.
And just want to bring up that point. So
no, that's go for it.
Quickly add. I also I didn't mention I love the moments with Anakin and R2 and see how R2 is like his like dog. Basically.
Oh
yeah.
We need to do a life and lore of R2.
The disrespect that Obi-Wan gives R2-D2 is just ridiculous. He's like, he's a damn droid.
I know.
And one of my favorite episodes of the Clone Wars is R2 come home where Anakin and Mace are pinned down, and he sends R2 to get help, and Mace doesn't believe into it. It's such a great episode.
Yes. Yeah. I like that one.
Yeah, and
little guy's OP, man.
Yes.
Yeah, and there. Anakin.
We're gonna have to have an R2 one. We will come back to R2 because
I'm like, okay, I want to talk about Obi and A New Hope. I want to talk about R4 and Anakin and R2. I'm like, okay.
It'll come, but this is Anakin.
Yes. Let's hit some of these chats here. So, Mr. Anakin himself says, one of my favorite moments is the slaughtering of the separatists on Mustafar. You can see the confidence he expresses, I think, as Darth Vader, simply by walking in the room, but you can see Anakin's emotions.
You were required to read them as written.
I can't change their chats. Okay, we'll do that. One of my favorite moments is the whole one where he actually goes to the Tusken Raider village, and
it's too sad for me.
And not for like the memes and all of that, but the fact that he goes back to Tatooine, and that he's had these dreams about his mom, and I'm thinking even about drawing back to pod racing. When Qui-Gon says, he can sense things before they happen. Like, he has the Jedi reflexes. And so I wonder if he's like, is this real? Is this like everything else I felt? Or is this just like a night terror? Is this something bad that's just running through my mind? And just that moment where it's not like the turn, but it's just another step where you're seeing him like, okay, he just crossed the line into the dark side, and we're seeing like he was towing it, and you're seeing that descent.
And that, for me, like, I'm such an auditory guy, that music, when you hear that, you're like, oh no, here we go.
Yes. Oh yes. Okay, let me hit some of these because we got a whole bunch. We already hit this one. Yes, the hallway scene does count. I mean, there was a discussion I was going to put in here that maybe if we have time a little later we'll get to it, because there's two camps. There is a camp of Vader and Anakin being separate, and then there is a camp of Vader being the fallen Anakin and a redemption. And I understand that could be a whole stream in itself, I think, honestly.
Yeah.
So we'll come. I'm going to say yes, it does count just for the sake of this, but that is a thing we can come back to. All right, I'm going to read it as is. The moment when we see Anakin waiting in the Jedi chambers, ordered to wait by Mace, you can see in his eyes that he is going through so much pain and that he is having a huge conflict inside himself. Yes.
The turn and the tear.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's such a beautiful moment. It lets the movie kind of breathe for a minute, and we all kind of collect our thoughts before we go into Mace arresting Palpatine. So it's I don't think I have to give George credit for that, because I don't think a lot of other directors would have done that. It would have been just like onto the action. So to kind of set it all up like that. And
oh yeah. And that's what's so cool too, is that you can tell that George really wanted Star Wars to be centered around Anakin. And it's centered around a lot of other things, but at the core you have this thread of Anakin and his family, the Skywalker saga. You see it, and it would be really interesting to talk to somebody who saw the original trilogy in theaters and then later being a fan of the prequels, and like, what was that like to see Vader's redemption go to a deeper level, with the prequels? Because for me, I watched, as a kid, I'm watching all of them basically almost in real time. I didn't have to wait for them to be released, the prequels, but it was a little different. All right, Lord Crit here. My favorite moments are probably his relationship with Obi-Wan and Ahsoka during the Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith, his finale with Luke, and finally when the dark side fully influences him on Mustafar. Yes, those are good. So good. All right, there's a bunch more here, but you know what? We'll jump into another question here, and I feel like this is going to give us some really good deep dives and conversations. So what about this one? We'll do this one. What are a few things you wish more people knew about Anakin that is not well known? Ooh,
I have a really long answer to this one.
Go for it.
Lead it off, because it's tough if you're a sweaty, because you're like, well, what's not well known?
Yeah, for sure.
Mine is more towards like just the general audience, because I feel like a lot of people overlook Anakin's upbringing. As a child, he was a slave, and the only family he had was his mother, and then I guess Watto being his master, but that's not really family. But as his mom said, he had no father, and Anakin, I believe, was trying to find that in Qui-Gon, and then in Obi-Wan, and then finally Palpatine was the one who manipulated him into that. So at 9 years old, the age he was at Phantom Menace, he was basically told, oh, you're chosen to like destroy the Sith and bring balance to the galaxy, like already at 9 years old, and you're basically told like you're the most important figure in the galaxy. Like that's so much pressure to be put on a kid that young. And then when he was recruited to the Jedi, he was told to ignore his emotions, but yet he already had his connection with his mother, and with he even had friends on Tatooine and stuff. That's why the Jedi try to recruit as young as possible, so it's easier to disconnect from attachments. But Anakin already had all those, and when he had like emotions like of his mother dying and dreams of his mom dying, the Jedi was like, okay, so just go back to doing your duty.
Right.
They're like, please don't have attachments. We don't really know what to do with this.
Right.
Yeah. And I like to think of like all of these into why the movie that gets probably the most hate is Attack of the Clones, because Anakin comes off as a creepy, awkward guy. But when you take to account, everything he's been through, it makes sense why he'd act that way. Sure, the dialogue is not well written and stuff, but to be honest, I was really awkward when I was a teenager. And
still awkward, man.
I'm still awkward. And like, ironically, I think sometimes like talking like that is more common than like most high school movies, which trying to make it like, oh, this guy's so smooth. Like, how do you expect Anakin or Hayden to be so smooth when he's talking to Padme, like the most beautiful girl in the galaxy?
And even
he doesn't have a lot of practice either,
No.
So
yeah, he has not had a childhood where he's been able to talk to women normally, and he didn't have a father either. He had his mom, and his mom basically taught him how to survive as a slave. And it's just, I think it's just, I appreciate what they did in that movie because of just how the character was set up. And even like I won't go too much into Padme, but Padme too, she was put into a position where she was 14 and she was the queen of a planet. And then her planet gets attacked and she is like also being hunted in like episode 2, and basically her entire life has been responsibility. She didn't have her teenage years where she would, I don't know what they do in
play Guitar Hero.
I was like go with her friends to the mall and like look at all the cute boys and stuff. She didn't have that. She was ruling a planet. Then after her term as queen, she became a senator. And so the way I kind of look at it is that Padme had to mature prematurely, and Anakin kind of had this childlike innocence to him that he just never fully developed out of. And I think both of them kind of come at it like they feel like they're normal together, and not having to be the responsibility of a Jedi, not to be the responsibility of a senator. And I just think their relationship gets too much hate on it, and I won't go too much further into it, but basically I don't know. I'll just leave it like that.
Well,
no, that's a perfect point. I mean, when you one of my favorite books I've read recently was the Revenge of the Sith novelization, because it goes so deep into the emotions between them. And I think a lot of people don't understand, even before he started having visions about Padme dying, how conflicted he already was.
Yeah.
They say, his furnace heart. And you when you think about like when you were a kid, emotions, when you had nothing else to think about, like emotions just ruled your existence, when you were 13, 14. And like you said, they both, they never really grew out of it. I think Padme kind of had a really good facade that she put on. And then Anakin basically just used it. He was already kind of a Sith. He used his passion to make his decisions. Everything he did, he basically acted from emotion, which is the opposite of what a Jedi is supposed to do in the first place. And so I think the thing that a lot of people miss is that everybody says he turned so quick. He turned so quick. Like, really? He just turned around and said that and that was it? And it's so wrong, because from the beginning, he's had this furnace heart. He's been fighting this fear of failing people that he loves, and the depths that he would go to stop the people he loves from being hurt or dying is what motivates him to do that. So this has been building since I mean, I would say basically mum, but even before that, I mean, his heart was full thinking about Padme for how many years before he even saw her again? I mean, he
10
is,
years.
yeah, he is emotion. He's raw emotion. That's his shtick.
Yeah, I chalk up a lot of what he says to Padme, the awkward stuff that he says to Padme in episode 2 as, he's a teenage boy, and it probably sounded really good in his head. I mean, we've all been there, and or rehearsing it in the mirror, it sounded really good, but, when
how many bad poems did I write to my 16-year-old girlfriend, you know what I
mean? But also, too, about Padme, I think it's also kind of the classic, he's the damaged bad boy, and she's a diplomat, she's a politician, and she's a girl, and she wants to fix him. It's just that classic, trope, I think, that they're going for. And I think she genuinely cares about him. I think she always genuinely cared about him. The people that say that his turn was too fast in episode 3, I'm always like, did you watch The Phantom Menace? I mean, it started there with his mother and Yoda and them sensing the fear of loss there, fear of attachment. So the lines all through there, I don't get that people think it turned too fast.
I think part of it, honestly, is because when I was growing up, I didn't really like Attack of the Clones, and it took, honestly, us getting together for me to get back into Attack of the Clones, because I honestly would skip it, and that's out of the prequels, that's one I'm the most unfamiliar with, because I would watch 1 and I would watch 3, and I remember I would tell myself I didn't like the romance, and there's parts I didn't like, but now when I rewatch, I'm like, that's actually a small portion of the entire film, but I think why that turn feels so fast is because I think for a lot of people, they check out, or they just keep Attack of the Clones underrated, and it's so pivotal to his growth. Because even if you think I mean, it's so crazy when he comes right out of the gate, and he's been dreaming of her for 10 years.
He comes on strong.
So at the same time, he's been dreaming about his mom dying, and then he has a positive of dreaming about Padme. And like X-Wing said, that furnace heart, like he's so passionate, and then he gets placed in the right place at the right time to be alone with her, and he's like, I'm going for it.
Yeah,
and he
just
you gotta take advantage of it.
And it's so, like, he's used to being told, you're the best. You're the chosen one. You're the savior, and all of this stuff. And then what ends up happening is Padme just like disrespects him, and is like, hey, I don't like. He's just a Padawan, like basically.
That little boy from Tatooine.
Yeah, like just ignore him, And he's like, are you serious? And he likes that strong woman, but then that attachment, he has his mom and he has Padme, and all of this stuff is churning, and behind the scenes Palpatine is manipulating him and turning him against his calling, which the Jedi Order also has corruption, and I think that's why we all like Attack of the Clones, because it's like there's so much that happens for everything, but for Anakin in particular, like if you write that off, 3 doesn't really make as much sense, because like you miss out on so much.
I think too, we're not necessarily used to seeing men have emotions in Hollywood, and so I think that's why we're like, oh, what, he's coming off strong, because you're not allowed to. But Anakin was a real man, and like you said, as a teenager, we were all awkward, and ours just wasn't on a movie that millions of people saw,
Yeah.
Amazing, good for us, but
dude, my Attack of the Clones would be bad.
But he's just an emotional, passionate man who's not afraid to share what's on his mind.
Yep.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
I think that's what Padme loved too.
Yeah.
I think that's why she loved him, because she was so passionate about what she felt, and she saw that in him, and that's why she was crazy about him. Like you said, T-Money, they're the same person. That's why they're comfortable with each other.
Yeah. And that was a really good point I hadn't thought about.
Yours?
No, not mine. You know what? This guy makes some great points. No, T Money's point about how they were both thrust into positions of power, controlling a lot or being told you'll control a lot at a young age. And they're probably the only people who understood each other, honestly.
Yeah, I remember George describing Attack of the Clones as like two kids, and then you have this whole backdrop of war behind them, and they don't know any other kind of different life, and they're swept up into it, and that that plays with T Money's point, that they were the same, and they don't know any other different life than what they're living.
But together, it was totally an us against the universe kind of thing.
Yeah.
And one more point I'll just quickly drop was that you were talking about how he's a man who shows his emotions and stuff. And typically, men are supposed to be tough and, like, bad boy. But I think the fact that he did not have an actual father in his life really prevented him from being like that. Because as for me, I grew up with a single mother, and I was way more emotional and less tough than most of my peers around me. And I stress that point that Anakin did not have a real father in his life just affect him so greatly. And I just want to make that point. So,
which is a point that the writing is actually pretty good.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
maybe it's not perfect, but it's good.
Yeah.
Because
it's a space opera, for God's sakes.
And Palpatine tries to be a father figure, but not in a good way. He's not the right kind of father. He's telling Anakin everything he wants to hear. You're the best, you're the greatest. Oh, the Jedi underestimate you. You're better than Obi-Wan.
Look what I can give you. In the novelization, when he's saying, "What do you want?" And he's like, "Well, I want this, an apartment." He's like, "No, the building." "Well, I'll give you the building. I'll give you an entire planet." And that's his out. He's like, I can have everything I've ever wanted, and I can finally be happy if I just listen to him.
But even in Attack of the Clones, when he goes to talk to him about the assignment about Padme, they're finally giving you assignment. It's like he's saying how dumb the Jedi were not to give Anakin something like this before. Just feeding his ego and not being the kind of father that he should have, put boundaries and advice and the right things, but he's grooming him basically.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And what's even fascinating, if and I know people have their own headcanon, they have all this different stuff, but it's like if you look at the thread of because Anakin had his mother Shmi had a virgin birth, so no biological father, and so even in canon, with Palpatine basically manipulating the Force to create Anakin, and I think setting things up, knowing whether you want to adhere to that or not, or you like it or not, but seeing that. And then getting to the place where, like T Money was saying, he's being raised without a father, and Palpatine is edging his way in to, like Jedi Scum was saying, to manipulate that. Right. To okay, I'm going to be here. And it's a fan theory, but I kind of like the fan theory of Palpatine being behind the torture and death of Shmi to affect Anakin. Because then it's after that, then he starts talking about saving people from death. Because it's like the person who is the most important to him was tortured and died in his arms. Right. And then now he starts having dreams about the next most important person dying. And it's it almost humanizes him, and it makes sense why he got to where he was, because he was so afraid. But with that, let's do this. I had to go all the way back up for this comment, because I think this is good. And and Matt Wilkins is a really good guy, and he's very,
awesome.
very respectful, and he's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he says, Jake Lloyd and Hayden Christensen's wooden acting. Is it the actor's fault of lack of direction from George? Your thoughts? And there is another comment down here that I think from Strike that pairs really, really well with this, and it'll kick off this conversation. If I can find it. Here we go. Okay. As stupid as some people think it is, the line of Anakin that he doesn't like sand makes so much sense. Anakin is scarred by his past as a slave, and he's not able to let aught go. He's constantly reminded. And Strike, I know what time it is where you are. I literally have a clock for Germany in my phone right now, but Commander said I just got to read it as is.
Yeah.
But I think, to be fair, some of the lines. So I think Jake Lloyd and Hayden Christensen portrayed Anakin exactly the way George wanted in the prequels, and then it just comes down to a matter of, do you like that or not? Mm-hmm. That's kind of the camp I'm in. I personally like it because I feel like Anakin isn't perfect. He has a lot of awkward tendencies. He's not like a super sociable person, and you see him do two things. He holds things in, and then you're all good, man. You're all good. We're just joshing you. But he holds things in, and then he also processes in the moment.
It's like what you always say with the bottle.
Oh yeah.
That's good. Say that.
Yeah.
So for me, I used to have a really hard time processing emotions. And so I basically learned my emotions were a lot like a champagne bottle, where like essentially I'm like that glass bottle, and my emotions are all the champagne inside. Mm-hmm. And life just shakes it up, right? And what can happen is you can process in a healthy way, and you can like release that pressure, and like little by little, like, okay, stuff's coming. Or it just keeps going and keeps going.
It's gonna come out once.
And eventually like it just and I think that's why we see like,
and it gets all over you and everyone around you.
Yeah, and
just like sand.
Just like sand. And that's what we see with, I think, with Anakin, because he'll be so for Obi, and then he's so against him, and he's so happy, and he's so angry, and he's back and forth, and
from 0 to 100.
Yeah,
and I think that. And we can talk about the acting and the lines and dialogue a little further for a few minutes. You know, I think the sand line isn't the greatest line in all Star Wars or in all of cinema, but I do like Strike's point about it just reminds him of his past. And so I think it's a young adult's awkward way of communicating without trying to blow his love out of the water.
Ooh. Well, I've never understood the hate for the "I don't like sand" comment.
Me neither.
I've never understood it, because like for me it's like, you know, I grew up in the mountains. Like, I hate pine needles. I can tell you that much right now, because I spent years raking them.
I hate that.
And so if I was with Mrs. X-Wing and we were standing out there and we were just talking, and like I'm crazy about her, and I'm like, I hate pine needles. Like, literally, they never stop coming. I just hate pine needles. And everybody's like, why would you say that? You're so dumb. Why are you so dumb? You don't like pine needles? Like, no, I don't. I hate pine needles. They're coarse and they're rough, and then they get everywhere.
Yeah, literally.
You know, he's just stating fact. It's not even like a, you know.
Yeah.
Well, she was just talking about being on the beach, and you know, it's just he's having an awkward conversation with the beautiful girl, and that's
So I don't get it. And when it comes to him and how he acts, 100%. First off, you have to realize that is George's vision of how Anakin was. So respect that right off the bat, because you have to know that he wouldn't have put it on screen if that's not how he thought Anakin was going to act when he was younger. So yeah, kind of. Did you expect Vader to be like this Rico Suave before he got in the suit, and then as soon as he gets in the suit, he's like, now I only talk like this because I'm in a suit? No, this is a super disturbed, completely broken individual who has had literally zero experience socializing with the rest of the world. He was a slave. He got taken away when he was a child. His mother's dead. Like, this kid has been through absolutely everything. And so how do you think that person would act? Yeah, it's the weird kid in high school that like doesn't know how to talk to people. That's exactly who Anakin is. So when he gets hate, like, he's got wooden acting. Like, yeah, kind of, but not really. This is someone who does not know how to express emotions. And then when he finally does express them, he has no way to determine how to express them to people. They just kind of come out, which is something I can totally vibe with. You know,
yeah,
what I mean?
me too. I could see myself even in the same situation where, like, you know, you're talking to a beautiful girl, and then like they just bring up something like, oh yeah, here's something, and then after they're like,
Yeah, I hate Sin.
What? But yeah, I think it gets way too much hate. I love it, and I also love the memes for it, but it's I think it is way too overlooked and hated against.
Well, I'd just like to add this about Hayden's performance, and this is actually also my answer about things that aren't known about Anakin that I wish were more well known. I mean, Star Wars is, you know, so steeped in cinema history, you know, from Kurosawa to John Ford to, you know, everything that George loved in film school. And it's also from his teenage years as well. And, you know, if you go back and look at like movies from the 1950s, you know, James Dean, Rebel Without a Cause, you know, Brando, The Wild One, that's Anakin, especially James Dean. If you know the outbursts, the emotionalness. I mean, yeah, Anakin's even got like leather jacket cool in his, you know, his outfit, you know. So that's where I always thought the influence was from. And if you go back and watch those kind of movies that I no doubt George watched and everything, you know, you get it. You understand what the kind of performance he was getting Hayden to do, and if you look at it through that lens, it all makes sense. And like everybody else said, that's the performance George wanted. That's how he wanted Anakin to be portrayed on film, and I'm just giving a little insight about like where those influences and why George maybe made those decisions for the character.
Yeah. And it wasn't a one take thing. When you watch the behind the scenes, he's like, I want you to do this, but do it again like this. You know, do something else here. So I don't think you can chalk it up to not enough direction. I don't think you can chalk it up to bad acting, because I think what he did was probably one of the most difficult things you could do in acting.
For sure.
Which is, like, reach back into your childhood and be that creepy teen who doesn't know how to talk to people. Yep. And all your hormones are raging, like, you know. Yeah, it's tough, man. I don't know if I could do it.
Well, the scene where he confesses about, you know, killing the Sand People to Padme, I always thought that was so the acting was so great in that. Just it gives me chills, you know, just especially just the close up on his face, and he's just pouring.
When the tear rolls down and he's gritting his teeth.
Just
damn.
You know, just I don't get the call for saying he's a bad actor. I also always tell people that say that to go watch a movie called Shattered Glass. You watch that, you won't think Hayden's a bad actor.
I've seen over the past year, I've seen like all of Hayden's movies, and I just don't understand how he gets so much hate, because he really displays emotion super well. And even like the scene when we were talking about where there was no dialogue, him in the council chambers, like that's all visual and just body motion and stuff. And he just portrays it so well. And he was brand new. Like I think that was like one of his like really early movies. And same thing with Jake Lloyd. That was like his first movie. And in my opinion, I think they knocked it out of the park, and they portrayed the characters perfectly.
And how do you do James Earl Jones when you're like a 20-year-old white kid? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think he did perfect. I just keep going back to the fact, I'm like, so, okay, what do you want? If that's not what you wanted, what do you want? Do you want a Rico Suave, and then when he gets his legs cut off, now he becomes like this proper, you know, be careful not to choke on your aspirations. Like, no, he's always been that kind of weird, stunted speech, odd. He's trying to get all of his emotions out in the shortest amount of dialogue possible kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at the scene when he and Padme are together and she says, I'm pregnant. And he's like,
yeah.
he can't get it out.
That's honest, though.
Mm-hmm.
That's
it is because it's literally like you're supposed to be happy because we're gonna have a family, that's awesome, but literally both of them are in positions. It's a forbidden love, and how do they move on from that? Are they gonna Anakin says, I'm gonna have to resign from being a Jedi, and then Padme has to resign from being a senator, and then they have to live life as normal people, but yet, like we said, Anakin is at a position where he's the most he's the chosen one, the most pressure of any being in the galaxy. It's
I just love that scene how he says to her, this is a happy moment, the happiest moment of my life, and then it cuts to Grievous going to Palpatine or Sidious, and Sidious is already plotting and planning. We see Anakin all happy and everything, and it's a wake up call for us that no, it's not. It's sad. It's tragic.
Yeah.
Speaking of, okay, I got to pop out for a second. I'll be right back. But just to give 80 Edits credit again.
Yeah.
He did one where he says, "This is the happiest moment of my life," and then it shows Padme dying and giving birth to the twins. I lost it.
That's so painful.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay.
I think to wrap up that topic, one thing we have to remember is, like you guys were saying, Anakin or Hayden and Jake Lloyd gave George's vision, and George is the storyteller. So we can't really be hey, they did it wrong when they did what the creator wanted, because it's George's story, it's George's vision, and you cannot like it, but we can't really say it's wrong because he's the one who created it. Whereas things are in someone else's hand, and it's a little bit different situation. But 1 through 6 were George's.
Yeah, I just don't get the thing about Jake Lloyd because he was just a little kid. I don't see anything that he did wrong in his performance. I think that's a lot of people projecting what they wanted little Anakin to be. The bad seed, the Damien child, and the fact that he's just this cute little boy that is good and nice, and I don't see anything bad that he did in his performance at all. And he was in the Jingle All the Way.
Yeah, so good.
A classic.
Yes.
And for me and Jake Lloyd, obviously there's all this stuff, and obviously this conversation is it's not about I would almost say the heinous treatment some fans went to, and friends went to and bullying him, or not friends, but people bullying him at school.
His
and
peers.
That's a whole nother side thing. But when we're looking at his acting, as a child actor, him as Anakin reminds me so much of you remember in your elementary school, or maybe you have nieces or nephews kind of like this. They hang out around adults a lot, and they always feel like they got to put on a show. They got to be big and bad and tough. That's kind of how I feel like little Annie is, because he has to deal with Watto. He has to deal with, Tatooine. Tatooine is where people, either they've lived there their whole life and they're extremely rough, or they want to escape everything. And so they go away, and you have Sebulba, Sebulba's straight up bullying a kid. And as a kid, he's standing up to him.
Yep.
Even learning his language to basically talk back to him. And so for me and Jake Lloyd, I see this kid who's out of his element. He's trying to be he's just trying to have a normal childhood as best as he knows how. But with that, he's trying to hold his own and not just be the kid to run back crying to his mom every day, because he lives in a extremely rough place.
Right.
Yeah.
We have this from Nicholas Lee. I appreciate Anakin's performance by Jake Lloyd and Hayden because Jake was supposed to portray kid version of Anakin, and I grew up on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think at least for this panel here, maybe we're a little biased, but we definitely
the prequels were most of our, I think, all of our childhood, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was kind of like childhood, teen years for you and I. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I watched like 1 through 6, so I didn't.
Funny.
I didn't have like the original trilogy first, and then the prequels, which I can see.
Wait, you watched the prequels first?
I think I did.
Oh
wow!
Oh wow! Okay,
that's cool.
So, I'm not actually sure. I like don't actually remember the first time when I watched Star Wars, because I think I like it'd be on and I'd see clips, but it wasn't until like later when I actually like sat down and watched them all, but I knew what was going to happen. So but yeah, for the most part, like I saw 1 through 6, so I didn't see like an issue with like, oh, this is what I think Darth Vader would be like. No, I just was like, this is who Darth Vader was. So
yeah,
well, you know, I'm old enough to have watched Return of the Jedi before the prequels, and you know, when Vader turns, you know, it used to kind of play as like a big shock, or, you know, or a big surprise that when he does that. But after the prequels, there's just so much more emotion going on. You know, you're reading his head. You know, he's thinking about Padme. You know, he's thinking about everything. It just it adds so much more to it that I think people appreciate that now. But I remember a time when people didn't, and I'm glad that they do now. So,
yeah,
absolutely, man. So what about let's ask this question. I think this will be cool because we brought you guys here because we understand that Anakin is one of your guys' favorite characters, and so let's figure this out because there's going to be a lot of different directions that stem from this single question. So why is Anakin one of your favorite characters?
So that's actually a really simple, easy answer. I can totally see myself in him. Whoa, that sounded bad. You know what I meant.
Relatable.
No, I have the same. I have the same thing, but you go ahead first.
Well, to me, he's super relatable. The whole thing with Anakin, I think, is that, and this is like, you know, this is classic George Lucas, making things timeless and understanding human emotion, with him being an anthropology major and studying really human history and human emotion. When you boil it down to its very essence, it's all about human emotion, human history, what's ingrained in us, how we all feel and what we believe. And that's why Star Wars is the way it is. For me, with Anakin, I mean, he boiled down is the basic human. He's the weakness, right? He's the weakness. He's everything that we. Oh gosh, this is tough. I could have wrote an essay on this, like a thesis. You know what I mean? Like a 250-page thesis, and it's tough. It's tough. It's tough to distill it down to one thing. But I mean, Anakin is the base human emotion. You know what I mean? He is how if we had no society to tell us how to act or anything else, he is how we would all act. You know, just based out of emotion. And so he resonates with me a lot because I think in a lot of ways, I think the same way he does when it comes to the lengths that I would go to help and save the people that I love and the depths that I would go to. But as soon as Vader hits, we like completely, we fork roads.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So for me, just like Exon was saying, I saw a lot of myself in him. Someone who was misunderstood and didn't feel heard by the Jedi. A boy who was raised by a single mother, like I was saying, and he was trying to find a father figure in other people. And, you know, he cared for others. You know, his love and how much he cared for others is really what sets off everything to happen.
It's his downfall.
It's his downfall, yeah. And like for me, I know I would often get my emotions worked up. I used to have a lot of anger issues when I was younger. And when I was watching him, I'm like, oh, this is someone else who also gets angry for reasons like this and that. And of course, I never did anything evil like Vader. I didn't.
Yeah.
No younglings, but it's also just the idea that, you know, the character of Vader being redeemed back to Anakin. It's that ideal mindset that anyone can be redeemed, and I think that's like it just rings true to so many different situations and stuff. And you know, that being said, though, Vader is like my favorite villain of all time, and he's just so cool, like design wise and just voice, everything. But Anakin,
sexy.
yeah, and the helmet, man. Yeah, just overall, like Exon said, he's really, really relatable. And when I was like 7 or 8, you know, he was just my favorite character. And then when the Clone Wars started, I grew up with it. I was watching it every week when it was coming out. You know, it was just really cool to see him go on an adventure every day like that. And yeah, so Anakin's one of my favorite characters of all time. So
I think that's why the Clone Wars hit so much too. And I hate to make it like a sex thing, like a gender thing, but you know, as young men, when we watched what was going on with Anakin, we're like, damn, we relate to that. Like, no, hide your emotions. We're not supposed to be talking about that kind of stuff. And then when we watch Clone Wars, it's this total release because now we're just seeing the homie going on adventures.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, this is fun. This is light. This is airy.
Yeah.
And then we go back to the PT and we're dealing with that stuff again. Like, oh, God. It's like, you know.
And we knew where it was leading up to as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I've always felt like Anakin at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith, when they're rescuing the Chancellor, he acts quite a bit like he does in the Clone Wars. But as soon as, probably once he kills Dooku, and especially when he sees Padme, you know, reality comes back and all this stuff happens to him, that he starts kind of reverting back to the fears and the emotions that he had in Episode 2 about his mother, and started reacting the same way. So
that's a great point. Yeah.
And, you know, even before I share why Anakin is one of my favorite characters, it's funny because thinking about this stream, right, the life and lore, you know, even we made reference at the beginning, it would be so hard to literally cover the whole life and lore of Anakin. And I'm telling you, look up videos on YouTube. Try to. There's not like whole video deep dives into the life of Anakin because it's complicated. Really? Yeah, there's a lot of tributes, but there's not like a, you know, you'll see like, oh, Ahsoka, like a 3-part video series or things like this. There's not a whole lot on Anakin because I think his life is so complicated. He, you know, there's a
X-Wing's getting a video idea.
I know, right? We're like,
did you see the gears turning?
Yeah, I did.
It's wild in Star Wars because like like I have this idea. I'm gonna see, you know, I'm gonna look at what the big names did with this. And I'm like, nothing?
Yeah.
Really?
It is shocking to me, honestly, that's not like I've never thought about doing it because I'm like, wow, that's been covered to death. Yeah.
And you know, maybe there is stuff that's smaller that hasn't picked up steam, but I'm thinking he is a commander in the military. You know, he's a general, and he's also a husband, a soon-to-be father. You know, he ends up being a warlord. You know, and like he is training to be like one of the most revered things in the galaxy, a Jedi master, but he can't attain that, and he's a Jedi Knight. Like you look at all of these threads in his life, and it's like it's so complicated, and it makes sense when you see him being portrayed, and you're watching Anakin's life because it's like he's being pulled in so many different directions, and he has so much placed on him, and they're all in conflict with one another. It's not like, oh hey, here is my calling in life. Here's what I do to make money. Here's my family. Here's my friends. It all makes sense in it. You know, he doesn't have a comfortable life. Everything about his life is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Except Padme.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
she's what gives
that's
him
used
comfort.
against him. And for me, Obviously we've talked a lot about, Anakin, because you really see Anakin, I think, in the prequels. I think you do see Vader, and after this we can transition. Maybe we'll talk about that Anakin and Vader for a little bit. But what I find interesting, if we're talking about how we see ourselves in Anakin, I see kind of two speeds in me. Either one, I want to be micromanaged like no other. Like, just tell me exactly what to do. Let me be mindless, because then I can disassociate and just do exactly what I'm supposed to. Or I want to be completely free. I don't want anybody telling me what to do. And in the middle ground, I do not thrive. It stretches me so much, but that's most of life is for me in that middle ground. And I see somewhat in Anakin, like he's told about his greatness and the prophecies about him, and yet he's not granted the rank of master. And he's in this place of tension where it's like he knows, he's in his mind, he's like, I'm better than all of you. I'm the chosen one, you're not, and you're denying me. And he's trying to submit to that, but then he's also like, come on, like, it's me. And then even when he's Vader, you see that the Imperial officers and all of this, they don't. Some of them just don't respect him.
Yeah.
Like, especially in A New Hope, at the round table.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you know who you're talking to?
Yeah, it's like the last of your religion.
Yeah, and to see that he feels like he's always trying to prove himself.
Yeah.
He's like, and it's not like a oh, nobody believes in my dreams kind of thing. It's like, I know who I am, but that vision has become distorted, and he's using power and strength to basically prove who he is. But then ironically that takes him further away. And for me, that's why I like Anakin so much, because it just feels like this tortured soul, and you're just like, you just watch this heartbreak movie after movie after movie, and then at the very end of his life, that redemption, it's just like, oh dude, like, it's just, I don't know, to me it is like, it's like George says, it's like poetry, it rhymes, it's so beautiful,
I'm waiting
story
for the moment when I take my kid to a Star Wars movie and the baddie says, have you ever heard the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker? And I'm like, come on.
Right. That would be cool.
I'm like, I lived it. I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old.
You made a really good point, though, about expectations. The fact that, he's the chosen one. He has so much expectations. And I feel like us as humans, we have a lot of expectations ourselves, either ones that we set, like our own expectations of ourselves, or what our parents or friends, or like, for me especially, I have a lot of expectations in goals that I want to reach. And when I have like my family or something kind of not see my progress on it, or they want more of me, they expect more of me, it is just so harsh. It hurts.
Frustrating.
It's frustrating, and that's exactly what Anakin feels. The Jedi have all these expectations for him, but then he's like, Obi-Wan, he's holding me back, and that's just another layer of relatability I see with him.
Yeah,
I think that I kind of have two reasons. One, why he's my favorite, or one of my favorites, is his character development, just from that little boy into the mask coming off at the end of Return of the Jedi. Just how much happens and how he's developed. I think he's a really well-written character. And I think the other reason is I relate to him too, in different things, like for instance, how kind of like being overlooked or unseen. Like I mean, I've been there like so many times, and it's so easy to get frustrated and be like, what is going on? So I understand. I control my anger a lot better than Anakin, but I can understand his anger, and I can understand sometimes why he's acting in the way he does. Because I'm like, yeah, I don't like what more are you guys wanting out of me? I can't. Like, I'm giving everything, and I'm still unseen. I'm still unnoticed. Like, it's just that I relate to that.
Yeah.
And especially too, I mean, I hate to keep going back to it, but I mean, the Revenge of the Sith novelization, when they go hunting for Grievous, there's the battle over Coruscant going, and they're like, where are Anakin and Obi-Wan? They are intergalactic celebrities at this point. Everybody knows who Anakin and Obi-Wan are. He's been made into a celebrity. So beyond that, he's been told now at this point that he's the chosen one. You're the savior of the galaxy. He knows he's more powerful than all the other Jedi. He made his lightsaber by himself when he was 12 years old. He's been frozen in carbonite. He's done all these different things. Now he's winning a war single-handedly with somebody else. And with all of that, even with all these people telling him how amazing he is and all this stuff that he's destined to do for and blah, 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 we're not going to give you the rank of master.
Literally.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to kill every single one of you. Are you kidding me? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I got no bombs about it. Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And after everything else too, mom's dead, I'm in love with somebody, but I'm not allowed to be in love with them. Now my mom's dead, but I'm a celebrity, and you're telling me I'm amazing, but you're telling me I can't be amazing at the same time. Like, stop tearing my heart in different directions.
Yeah.
The loss of his mother, his Padawan leaving, and now his wife's gonna die. It's like all these women that are central to his life are like being taken away from him.
Well, and the pressure of becoming a father. Like,
that too, exactly.
Knowing that, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to read 2 comments from Salonic, and then we're going to head into probably the last question here. And chat, if you guys want like a part 2 of Anakin, let us know, because there's a lot more we can get into, and maybe even we'll pull these guys together again, and we'll do a whole nother discussion on Anakin versus Vader.
You
can't shut us up. It could be fun, Chase.
What's that?
Oh, sorry.
Go for it,
Daddy. You know what might be fun is if I just had you host a Boomer Council, and we brought Coach and Nick in to do an Anakin part 2 to hear how the OT people chime in on it, because we are biased. So if we get some hardcore, get some hardcore OT guys in with some prequel guys, and then really have a discussion about Anakin and how they feel and how we feel.
That'd be awesome.
Not to put you in a hot seat or anything. I'm just saying it could be fun.
I mean, that would be awesome, because I think there is, even like we talked about in the early days of doing everything, there is and I don't see it in any of the communities that we're building now, but there has been such a divide, but there's so many people out there that just want to talk about Star Wars and find common ground, and it's like, hey, if
without getting yelled at.
I know, yeah. And if it's like you don't like this part of Star Wars, or maybe you're not the biggest fan of it, let's talk about why, and maybe we can. If we don't have to change each other's minds, but maybe we can see what's going on. So here we go. Yeah. Heck yeah, we want a part 2. Part 2 idea: moments of Anakin coming through after becoming cool. Vader.
Dude, he never. Okay, so I'm sorry. That was going to be the question, right?
That's so good.
The last question? No.
Oh, that wasn't?
That wasn't. We're okay.
We need to make a video on this and have clips and research.
We have like 15, 20 more minutes. So that's the reason we're not going down this rabbit trail. Okay. Because
I'm there for it, bro.
I want to do it justice. We have part 2, please. Just because I feel like that's a big topic. So let me read this from Salonic, and we will ask the final question. We will do a part 2, maybe a part 3. Maybe this will just become
a never-ending series.
Make it a trilogy. Yeah. This is just your channel now. This is your channel now.
Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah. Okay, so check this out. Salonic said it so well. This is great. Anakin started in life as a slave and thought he would be free as a Jedi, but he felt like a slave over there. Therefore, he joined Darth Sidious, but he actually became a slave once again. He got free when he saved his son.
Yep.
Wow.
Drop the mic.
Dude.
Exactly.
Yeah, mic
So
drop.
good.
That was it, dude. That's 100%. Yeah. Anakin was only ever free for like 5 seconds in his life, and then he died.
Literally.
Yep.
It's so tragic.
Yeah.
So sad.
and that's, look at this. That's what he says. Anakin's story
It is a
is
tragedy.
a tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a tragedy we love, but it is so painful.
And even seeing the way, you know, like eventually we'll do this for Luke, but, you know, the way Luke basically gives him, you know, what we would consider like a Viking burial, you know, and like the way he honors his father. And it's like,
you know what we should do?
It's nuts.
Burn him. Vader's like, really?
Burned again.
Really?
Yeah, you know, that would, okay. We're going to make a video about, I think, I've never thought about this before. We got to make a video on, I mean, you look at him, he burns on Mustafar.
Yep.
And then he goes into the suit. And then at the end of the life in the suit, he burns and he becomes a Force ghost. Like there's even this like yin and yang, like, I don't know if that was I don't know if that's intentional, but I'm gonna sell it like it is.
There are some pretty funny memes about that, where the Force ghosts are looking at each other like, really, really.
Yeah, like here we go. Anakin burned on Mustafar, and he burns again on Endor.
Just the final slap in the face to our boy.
Yes. Okay, so final question here, and yeah, let's do this. So what moment or moments would you want to see animated or in live action from Anakin's life?
Anakin or Vader? Or
Either.
both? Okay. I've got something brewing up, so you guys just...
Okay, well, I know what I would like to see. I would like to see more of him in his meditation chamber.
Yeah,
as
cool.
Vader. I mean, even if it was like, I don't know, like a 15-minute short, or you know, like if I could see like what that was like, and even like his point of view, what's going through his mind, like if I could see that live action, and like a supercut even mixed into Empire Strikes Back, you know. So like, basically it cuts and we're like, what are we watching? And then it opens up and, you know, like.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like,
because in there he can live without his mask.
He can have the suit
in
off.
his little chamber.
Maybe we'll get that in Kenobi.
Yeah, I was just gonna say maybe in Kenobi.
Oh, we're so getting it, Kenobi. Oh, yeah.
It's it kind of reminds me there's some like comics with Vader, the Vader comics, where they do show kind of scenes like that and stuff. And there's a lot of great content in those comics that I would love to see adapted either to animation or live action. But the thing I really would like to see would be more of Anakin's Force Ghost post Return of the Jedi. Yeah. And I'd love to see him interact with Luke. I feel like that was a huge missed opportunity in the sequel trilogy. But if we could get, you know, we see Luke in The Mandalorian, and if we get a spin-off where we either live action or animated, I would love to see more of Luke interacting with Anakin's Force Ghost.
Yeah.
And another person.
Could you imagine, like, think about Luke on Hoth and the way Obi shows up to him, like, just imagine like a post Endor conversation. Even like 10, even if we got 10 minutes of it, it could be its whole own movie. But if he's sitting down, like Luke is sitting down with his father, and like his father saying like thank you, and like Luke is just talking to him like, I want to get to know you, and like the real you, like all this, like, oh, we'd all be weeping like babies, man. Like that'd be nuts.
Can I do like a my brain scene for what I would see there?
Yeah,
sure.
Okay, so Luke's on Endor, right? He sees everybody, he smiles, and then he dinks off to somewhere, right? And he's sitting on a stump, and he's like Luke is twirling his lightsaber, and then just cuts to a Force ghost foot walking up to him, but it's Jedi robes and Jedi boots. And Luke looks up and he sees Anakin.
Dad.
Yeah, but he sees him as Anakin, like Revenge of the Sith Anakin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like, so you're my father. Yes,
And he
I'm
says,
your father.
Come here, son.
And they hug.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness.
Just
You're
drop
gonna
me in the back
freaking
and saying,
cry
call me
over
done.
here.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I want to see that, and then I want to see this.
Yeah.
That would be yes. We need more content in between those 2 episodes.
Because
I
a lot
think that'd be
happened
cool
in
if
that
they
10
did.
years.
Yeah, like almost a book like Master and Apprentice with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan.
Mm-hmm.
Except it's Obi-Wan and Anakin. We can finally figure out what happened in that Gundar pit. But
There is a comic book series. It was like, I don't remember when, but it was a few years back where they did have Obi-Wan and Anakin, but it was just like a limited run. But definitely like a book or even like an animated show would be awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, that comic came out when they were throwing scraps to us prequel fans back a couple years ago.
Yeah, literally.
When everything was the OT and the sequel trilogy, and they just say, "No, we'll give those prequel fans a comic." You know?
Yeah.
But to go back to the original question, and I'll say my piece and I'll shut up. But things I really want to see are honestly going to be more Vader than Anakin, I think.
Yeah.
But this is something that we talk about. You know, there are 2 camps that Anakin and Vader are 2 different people. I don't believe that. I think Vader has always been Anakin, and he was never able to get rid of Anakin. And we know that to be true because even when he was Vader, do you remember Vader Immortal? I never got to play the game, but I watched every single second of it. He never stopped trying to contact Padme.
Exactly.
And he was creating nexus in the Force to try to contact Padme. So stuff that I want to see, Kenobi, wherever, I don't care. I want to see Vader going back to Theed and visiting Padme's grave. That would be huge. I want to see him trying to contact Padme, and then I want his thoughts when he's in the chamber already planning sedition against the Emperor because he wants to kill him. He wants him to die. He wants to take over. He wants Padme back. That's the thing that we never explore about Vader is the continuing struggle of him always thinking about Padme, him always. So we have now Obi-Wan with his PTSD with Vader, and we have Anakin still thinking about Padme forever, and them both trying to struggle with their demons. That's stuff that I want explored more.
Yeah.
Me too. And
that's really
and
good.
There's an interesting theory about how Padme died. That actually Palpatine's manipulation is what killed her. He was taking her life essence and putting it into Vader, and it would make sense because him saying, "In your anger, you killed her." It would be true because he was literally taking her life and putting it into Vader, but it's still the Emperor's manipulation behind it all. And
he's not lying when he says that. In your anger, you killed her.
Yeah. And it's just the fact that, like, you know, the Emperor said, secret to saving someone's life was only achieved by one person, but together we will discover the secret. And it's like, okay, you made me turn to the dark side, but you don't know how to do it. I would love to see like Vader, because we've seen some of it in the comics, but in either animation or live action, him getting mad with Sidious, like the fact that I did all this to save Padme, and yet
the Theory fan film.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And quickly to go back to the Force Ghost.
What's up?
Like the last few minutes of the stream, my man. How's it going, Anakin?
It's going.
I'll make this real quick. But another person I'd love to see Force Ghost Anakin interact with is Ahsoka, and I really want in the Ahsoka series to see Force Ghost Anakin to appear, and her to get the resolve that, originally she in Rebels, she sees that, Anakin is now Vader, but to see that he actually came back to the light, I want her to get that closure.
Could you imagine Luke being like, "There's somebody I want you to meet," and then calls out, and Anakin walks out, and she's like, "Master."
Oh, it'd be so good.
I'd be for that.
And we have Eden returning in Kenobi, but I honestly hope this is going to be just the first of many appearances to come in the future.
Yeah.
What if Grogu tells Luke about what his life has been like and about Ahsoka, and then he's like, "Oh, Ahsoka. I know who Ahsoka is. My dad's told me about Ahsoka." And then it's this connection. That would be...
Obsession just said something that's really important, though. Ahsoka can't talk to Anakin. That bond was broken forever. So that's what I kind of mean. Luke would be the intermediary.
Yeah.
To be able to speak to Ahsoka. I think that would be ridiculously powerful.
Yeah, I do too.
So let's do this. In the last few minutes, I am going to give the hardest task in the world to Aiden.
Oh, what is it, man?
Can you tell us for 3 to 5 minutes whatever you want to get off of your heart about Anakin? 4:42, I will cut you off because we have a babysitter, and so we got to cut the stream at a certain time. But until 4:42, I'm going to let you loose because
right.
you are the Anakin man. Go for it.
I appreciate you. I
appreciate you, man.
oh boy. So there's a long list, but I would say what I love the most about Anakin, and you're talking my favorite moment, just everything.
The floor is yours. Whatever you want.
Right. I would say that my favorite, some of my favorite moments of Anakin, I already mentioned it. One of them on stream was when he killed the Separatists, because I really like that moment in particular, just because that's after he's already crossed the path of the dark side and already did a bunch of evil stuff. He just killed younglings and he just murdered a bunch of Jedi, and so he's already feeling pretty numb to it all. And so hell, even seeing him get out of his ship on Mustafar, you can see that walk. It's a very similar walk to Darth Vader. He just looks so confident in his abilities, but you can see that mask drops when he's killing the Separatists. You can see him, he still shows emotions towards stuff. So it's he's still Anakin, but he's also still Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
He's becoming more and more Vader, but Anakin is still there. I love that moment. Of course, Anakin versus Obi-Wan is by far my favorite lightsaber duel.
Mm-hmm.
I love that duel because the whole duel starts with all of Anakin's, basically his best friend and his wife, his two loved ones, failing to break through to him, and he just won't listen, and it's just really depressing. I really like that moment. I just really like Anakin's character for the fact that he starts off this great human being, wanting to be a Jedi, wanting to be a pilot, wanting to do all these good things, wanting to be a decent human being, someone that others could look up to. How I find it interesting that such a good person can fall to the dark side, but you always see ties of the dark side right there because he does things that are very questionable. He has no problem killing people to save his friends. He sees no problem with that. Whereas Obi-Wan's no, you can't actually do that, but that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, his character to me has always been my favorite because I've always felt I can relate to Anakin with the fact that he's asked to be this perfect person, but he's nah. He's I don't even know if I want to be the chosen one. There's so much pressure, and he doesn't. In the end, he doesn't. He buckles down. He submits to the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't stick to his Jedi ties. I think that's really interesting. The fact that such a good, pure human being could totally fall to the dark side. And he breaks the rules too. He's very, I don't want to say, he's like, at the end of the day, he's a good human being, but he always has these darker emotions. And those darker emotions lead to his path, like his fall to the dark side. And I really like that. And of course, Hayden Christensen's acting was on point for me in Revenge of the Sith and Attack of the Clones, despite some of the dialogue that he had to say. I feel like his character was always, like, for me...
What is the dialogue that bites you so much for Attack of the Clones? Because I feel like Revenge of the Sith is the only time I saw a piece of dialogue where I'm like, really?
It's that fireplace scene, man. That scene makes me cringe.
I know what you're talking about.
I'm not trying to, like,
in Revenge?
Mm-hmm.
It's only because I'm so in love with you.
I figured it was.
And then, when you watch the mouth, it still drives me nuts to this day. What things?
Oh.
You remember that?
I don't. I'm going to have to go watch it, though.
Dude, when he says what things, watch his mouth. It will stay with you forever.
Yeah. There's certain scenes where they dub over it, and you can tell. Yeah. Same thing with Mace Windu.
It's the most egregious one with what things.
Well, I'm really sorry. I showed up like literally within the last couple minutes. I was super busy.
Okay.
Classic Spidey.
But it's like
Saving
my
New York
favorite
City.
character I miss out on. So I'm a little bummed, but like nothing. I'm gonna definitely rewatch the stream. I definitely want to see what everybody had to say. I know.
There's gonna be a part 2, buddy.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a part 2.
I'll show you this. We got part 2, part 2, part 2. Yeah, people want a part 2, and so we have some cool ideas and
some thoughts.
Yeah, there's some cool ideas, man. So you didn't miss out. You got to come and give a very, very brief but concise love for Anakin. And yeah, we're going to have more, and we're definitely going to make sure that you're on it. Because
I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, shout out to everybody in the chat who's been staying. I see all sorts of stuff that I wish we could go into, and as our little guy gets older, our streams will be able to be longer, but I see things like this, like Ahsoka can't ever see Anakin's Force Ghost. Interesting concept. I feel like we could talk about that. I saw Strike say this, that he would love to see a live action scene of Anakin in the Jedi Temple during Order 66. He would love to see some scenes of him and Obi-Wan, like in Labyrinth of Evil. And I think you said in another one, like on Catanomoidia, like that was one in particular you wanted to see. And so there's all sorts of stuff that we get to that we're going to dive into. So what we're actually going to do is this. We're going to get X-Wing back, and we're going to do a Life and Lore of Thrawn stream.
That's gonna be dope.
That's gonna be our next one, and then we'll bring back an Anakin part 2. So the next one we're gonna do is Thrawn, and
that'll be dope.
It's gonna be so good. You know what? Now that I think about it, since he said he's not excited, he doesn't have to show up.
I'm not gonna. Nah. I actually don't know anything about that guy anyway.
Oh man, yeah. Look at this. One day your son will point out something to you in Star Wars that you never saw before. It blows your mind. One of my favorite moments as a father. I'm going to cry when he does that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh,
Little jelly.
This is coming to
Yes.
Boba Life and Lore.
I definitely want to be featured on that one.
So for that one in particular, I'm going to get the omnibus, and
Yes.
I'm going to have that
There's another dude that I know that might want to be a part of that.
I think I know who you're talking about.
I think
that would be sick. That'd be super cool.
Could be cool.
That would be awesome. But yeah, so the point of these streams are really to showcase just how good George's vision was with Star Wars, just how good the characters are written, how amazing the lore is. And if you want to be a part of these, or like if you have ideas, even in the description on our About page, we have like a link to our Discord where you can hop in and let us know. Because if you just want to stick in the chat and watch, that's cool. But if you're like, man, I've been sweaty for Boba for like 20 years and I would love to talk about him, we got to get to know you first. And we want to get to know you and really have these be a way to showcase maybe some voices that don't want to have their own YouTube channel, but they want to share some things.
Yep.
And then obviously we have like legends and pros like X-Wing, and I already know he's cringing at the fact that I said that.
Yep, pretty gross.
But yeah, so anyways, let's do this. To close off the stream, you guys can plug whatever you want. So if somebody in particular really liked your stuff, they can stay connected with you. So we'll do round robin. We'll start with you, T-Money, work our way down to X-Wing.
All right, awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me on again. I have a channel, T-Money Startwell, and I also have another channel, Battlefront Themes, and there I got videos that will hopefully entertain people. But yeah, thanks again for having me on.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Thanks for coming on. Mr. Jedi Scum.
Jedi Scum.
Well, thank you again for having me on. I really appreciate it because I'm just another fan. So just to allow me on your platform like that, I really appreciate it. I don't have a channel or anything, but in my name there at Jedi Scum 83 on Twitter.
Awesome.
I have a Twitter account on that hive of scum and villainy that is Twitter. But yeah, if anybody wants to follow me or talk to me on there, that'd be cool. So again, thank you so much for the opportunity to join in and chat on this. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. And for those of you watching too, just so you know, like we connected over in the comment section of some video. I don't even know what it was. And then he popped in to X-Wing's Discord, and then we got connected. And so it's like, yeah, that's kind of the whole point of this, is to if you need more Star Wars friends, like get connected.
We've got a couple.
Yeah, we found some Star Wars friends for you.
Yeah, you invited me to X-Wing's Discord.
Yeah.
I wasn't even on Discord. I had to download the app and everything. I feel like such a boomer.
Oh, yeah.
Amen to that.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. Anakin Skywalker, thanks for joining us.
I appreciate you. Thanks so much for having me on. Can't believe I missed my own stream, but it is what it is. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate you. I don't really have my own YouTube channel, but I did just create my own Discord server, Anakin's Legacy. And if anyone wants a link to that, you can just DM me wherever.
I joined, by the way.
I appreciate you, man.
Nice.
Yeah, that's really it. I definitely got to watch the replay of this. Super pumped for part 2. I'll be there for that one. And
awesome.
Yeah, that's really all I have to say. Thanks so much again.
Yeah, thanks so much for popping in last minute. And then before I close it all out, Mr. X-Wing.
I actually changed my name. I'm Darth Daddio. I run a channel called Two Star Wars Nerds. If you haven't already, please come subscribe. I make super legit content. Get to hang out with cool people like that weirdo X-Wing, that Artar that talks about, like plastic and stuff. So come hang out.
Oh, man, that's funny. I will say you just started a build series for building a half-scale R2-D2 that's like fully controllable and like fully decked out with electronics, dude.
It has every single gizmo you would ever want on your astromech. It's on there.
That's so awesome. Like
minus the shock baton though. I wish they would have added that, like an actual taser that you could recharge batteries for. So if somebody was like talking crap, your R2 could just come up and like
you should mod it and add like basically like a switchblade cattle prod that like
I could do that actually fairly easily.
Yeah, just
you could build in like a little mini taser.
Yeah.
Just make sure like the singularity doesn't happen and it turns against you. And
oh my God, can you imagine?
Then you can never go in your room again. Your Star Wars room would be
come home
Archie's.
in fear every day, just like listening for happy beeps.
Oh, like, is he in a good mood today?
Oh God, I hope so.
That would actually be such good Star Wars content about just like the owner of a droid that hates the owner and just terrorizes him, just like a short
Chopper.
Yeah,
Chopper. That's so true. All those Chopper like war criminal memes that have been coming out about
he's
his
a horrible droid. Isn't it like 4,600 confirmed kills by sabotage? I think
the number was outrageous.
It's definitely the high thousands.
Yeah, it was crazy.
R2-D2 is also technically a war criminal as well, but I think the circumstances were a lot different.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He gets the best.
Yeah, I was gonna say people are like, you've seen some stuff, so yeah, you get a pass. So for the final moments, I am Mr. Two Star Wars Nerds. Mrs. Two Star Wars Nerds stepped out to relieve her father from babysitting duties. We have a few things going on right now. We are finishing up our series on why we love the OT. We're not really finishing it per se. What we are doing is first we're just kind of doing general overviews of the movies and what we like. And then we're going to get into a flow of one prequel video a week. We're going to have one OT video a week. We're going to have one Clone Wars, like an animated, a week. And we're going to start mixing in some other stuff. So we're really just going to start diving deep. We're going to have more streams coming up. I will say, next Sunday at the same time, we are having an OT appreciation video stream like we did for the prequels, and we're actually having a special guest, Peter Harmey, who did the despecialized editions of the OT. So crazy.
I'm not gonna be here.
I know. So
I'm gonna be at a stupid wedding. Like, yeah, whatever. Get married. I don't care. Like,
you're gonna be celebrating love. Love.
I'm just celebrating love for Star Wars.
Yeah. But yeah, there's some cool things coming up. I don't know if you guys like the despecialized here in the chat and here on the little panel, but I love it. I'm gonna geek out with them. It's gonna be so much fun.
You could have some good words with Mark Austin about that.
Oh. Should I get? No, I was gonna say, should we get him on with Peter Harmey? No. That would be
yes. Jerry.
I know, right? That would be crazy. Well, with that, everybody, we are going to end this stream. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for the comments. If there's something that you really want to have heard and you want to have talked about in their next part of Anakin, comment down below.
Can I say something before we go?
Yes, you can, sir.
There's still a hangar bay tonight.
Oh, yes. In like an hour.
If anybody wants to come hang out, we're still doing it.
Yeah. So Hangar Bay community stream in an hour and 6 minutes.
Yes.
Be there or be square.
Don't want to be
okay. With that, see you all later.